...2022 Bassmaster Opens, 12 spots, 3 divisions, 1 goal.
Qualifying for the Bassmaster Elite Series through the Bassmaster Opens is one of the hardest things to accomplish in tournament bass fishing.
2 years ago, I set out on this journey to chase my dream of fishing the Bassmaster Elite Series. We're now entering year 3, and looking back on the past 2 years, I've faced many close calls of achieving the ultimate goal.
But in order to be one of the best in the world, close isn't good enough.
This year is going to be focused on consistency and overcoming the variables that comes with each tournament. So this week at Oneida, I really did keep it simple as to what I was throwing and what techniques I was using. Back in 2016, I was throwing a Ned Rig when I won the co-angler side. I came back in 2017, had another great finish, ended up in 13th on the pro side that year, throwing a Ned Rig. And last year, I bombed. This year, another good finish. And of course, I was throwing a Ned Rig. I was throwing a bunch of different stuff. Ned Rig, I did catch a couple key fish on it, but it wasn't my main go-to bait. I'm gonna show you guys a little breakdown here. I know we've gotten some feedback of people wanting to see what kind of rods, reels, and techniques, baits I was using. And if you guys have any questions further than what I explained, make sure to put them in the comments below and we'll be sure to get back to you. So the first technique I got here is just a swim bait. It's a 3.3 inch Kitech. I was throwing it on a 1/4 ounce head, and day 1 I didn't even throw this bait. I didn't even pull it out of the rod locker. Day 2 I pulled it out, and this is actually what I caught my first fish on, that big one. Those fish are coming up busting. There was a mayfly hatch. They were up eating shad and little perch and that kind of stuff, and I did see them busting a little bit. Of course, I didn't have a top water. I had a top water in the box. I just didn't pull it out. My first instinct was pull this out, and I figured if I threw it where those fish were busting, that it'd fall down in the water column and they would come grab it, and that's exactly what happened. I'm throwing this on the new X Pride, the Shimano X Pride B series. It's a 7.2 medium heavy spinning rod here. Just throwing it on 10-pound Power Pro SSV2, 3000 Shimano spinning reel. This is actually an older Shimano CI4, and 8-pound fluorocarbon leader. So real simple, just 3.3 Kitech, 1/4 ounce head, and this is what produced one of my big bites. So the next technique I was using was just a drop shot. This one here is just a flatworm. I think this is called brownback. I was switching it up every day. I didn't throw it a lot, but I did catch some key fish on a drop shot this week. I just didn't have a lot of confidence in it. I would throw out there. I was seeing a lot of those fish on my Humminbird Mega Live, and I would throw it out to them. And a lot of them, I don't know if they're just that pressured or they've seen so many drop shots come in front of their face, but it seemed like a lot of them, they would swim away from it. So I was trying to just throw something a little bit different. I'll get into more techniques that I was using, but drop shot definitely put a few fish in the boat that I weighed in. It was just on a flatworm. I changed up from black, green pumpkin, and this one. It seemed like if the black or the green pumpkin wasn't working, I could switch up to this one, and for whatever reason, depending on how the sun angle was and whether it was bluebird skies or cloudy, they were definitely eating a different color. Throwing this on the X Pride B as well. This is a 7.2 medium light. I am super in love with this rod. If you guys are drop shotting or any kind of finesse techniques, I highly suggest this X Pride B 7.2 medium light. I am just in love with it. I've never actually thrown a drop shot on this before this year on this X Pride series. I've always thrown it on a G Loomis NRX, but man, I am a huge fan of this, and I'll definitely be getting more. Again, throwing it just on a 3000 spinning rod, 10-pound fluorocarbon, and I was throwing it on 10-pound Power Pro SSV2. Throwing it on a 1/4 ounce Swagger tungsten drop shot weight. 1/4 ounce was perfect out there. I could drag it through the rocks. I wasn't getting stuck. The fall rate was just perfect. Everything was great. Next one was, of course, the Ned Rig. You want to get bites, you want to catch smallmouth, largemouth, big, small, anything, throw a Ned Rig. This Ned Rig here is a Swagger tungsten 3/16 ounce, just with a little TRD on it. Throwing this on 10-pound Power Pro SSV2, and I was throwing this on 10-pound fluorocarbon NRX 872 JWR. This rod is one of my favorite rods for just an all-purpose rod. Super great rod. I have a bunch of them, love them. Just throwing this on a Shimano Bamford, the 3000 size, and you know, pretty simple, just a Ned Rig technique that always catches fish. The last rod and technique I pretty much used was this right here. It's just a 3/8 ounce tube, green pumpkin tube. It's got a little bit of copper and purple flake in it. I was actually throwing this on a bait caster, and I did throw some on a spinning rod on a 1/4 ounce, but this 3/8 ounce, you know, I was out dragging around a lot. The wind picked up yesterday real bad, and it just, I was able to really kind of horse those fish in with this bait caster here. And you know, the waves out there, this lake is just rolling. I mean, a 10-mile-an-hour wind out there, you still got waves coming over the front of your boat. So I was able to get that bite and set the hook, get a good hook set in them, and I was able to horse that fish in and actually boat flip a lot of my fish. I know it probably sounds a little bit crazy, boat flipping those smallmouth, but you know, with those waves and the boat, you know, going up and down and in those big waves, it was just a lot easier for what I was doing. I'd actually run to the back deck and I could boat flip them over the back deck, which was just only about 8 or 10 inches off the surface of the water, and worked really good. I was throwing this on again, the Shimano X Pride B, the 7.2 medium heavy, and this reel right here is the 8.1 gear ratio. It's the Shimano Corrado 70 XG, the MGL. This reel is unbelievable for throwing light baits like this. I could throw this thing so far out there and never had a problem getting it, you know, backlashed or anything like that. I really like this setup, and it's definitely going to be a staple for whenever I'm throwing a tube, is put it on this setup right here. Like I said, if you guys have any questions on any of the gear I was using, or have any questions about anything else that I was using, or just questions in general, be sure to put anything you have down in the comments, and I'll be sure to get back to you guys. One other very key factor this week out here on Lake Oneida was definitely my Humminbird electronics and my Lake Master chips. I'm telling you that without my Lake Master chips, without my Mega 360, and without my Mega Live, I honestly don't know how I would have caught any fish. I mean, I was able to look at my Lake Master chips, and there's a shoal out here called Shackleton Shoals, and it's probably 3 miles long by 1 mile wide, and there's just little humps and just rock to sand transitions out there, and just a ton of stuff going on. And what I was able to do is I was able to get out on these small humps that I didn't feel like anybody else was on, or they were either overlooking, because there's so many of them out there. And what I would do is I would find the biggest boulders with my Humminbird 360, and I would see those boulders, and then before I got to them, I'd have my 360 set out at 80 feet. So as soon as my boat started creeping up on those boulders, I'd be able to see them on my 360. I could point my trolling motor over there, and instantly I would see if there's any fish on that shoal, or any fish swimming around off the edges on that break line. So, you know, without my electronics this week, I would not have been able to do it. And I know, you know, I'm running 3 12-inch Humminbird Helix graphs up front, and a lot of people say, why do you need all 3 of those? It's because in situations like this, I cannot be at a disadvantage. And I truly feel that if I didn't have these electronics this week, I would have definitely been at a disadvantage and not put as many fish in the boat. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate it. Any questions, make sure to put them in the comments. Catch you at the next one.
I swear to God that it might just be the death of me. Just count the reasons why I'm crazy, yeah, it's stressing me.